Hi guys, welcome back to my channel once again. Thank you so much for joining me. Just wanted to start off by saying a huge thank you for all the support since starting this YouTube channel. Honestly, it's been a labor of love and I've really enjoyed it up until this point. I hope to continue to make content that hopefully will be able to help you in order to make more informed decisions, as well as to have success throughout your life. Now, 2020 has been a challenging year with the global pandemic that's been going on. I sincerely hope that this video finds you well and that you and your family are able to cope with the strains and the stresses that have gripped the whole entire world. Now, my hope and my prayer for you is that 2021 will be a much better year than the year that has just passed. I mean, like most people, you're probably thinking, could it actually get any worse? Suffice to say, I'm hoping that all of your plans and your dreams and aspirations will come to fruition in this year. Now, in today's video, I'll be hoping to show you what is the best course of action in terms of investing in a property. Now, if like me, you're a budding property investor and you would absolutely love to get yourself on the property ladder to buy your first buy-to-let property, or if you're interested in doing flips, HMOs, serviced accommodations, whatever way in which you're thinking is the best strategy for you. Like me, you probably ask yourself this very same question. Should I buy my first home and live in that property, renovate it, and hopefully over time, the value of that property will increase? I'll then be able to pull out some of my money and then reinvest into my first buy-to-let property for a limited company. Or do I save as much as I can to get that 25% deposit, buy my first buy-to-let property, and then start my business in order to then buy my first home further down the line? Now, in today's video, I hope to share my own personal experience on what we did in order to get to where we are at this point. So stick around and I'll see you on the other side. Now, let me start off by saying that we all have different circumstances, and my circumstance will vary from yours. However, hopefully by sharing my experience, you'll have a better understanding of which route you need to take in order to move forward. Now, in this video, there's 2 points I'd like to touch on, and I'd like to share with you what we have done to get to where we are at this moment. Now, we could have chosen to save and save and save until we had a 25% deposit, and then go down the route of buying a property that needed refurbishment, something that we could add value to, renovate it over a period of 6 months or so, and then refinance it in order to pull out the money that we invested and then move on to buying a second property. Now, we could have either then flipped that property and sell it in order to get as much profit out of it as possible and then take that cash and move on, or we could potentially remortgage it after a few years once the value had gone up and then bought our second property. Now, my wife and I didn't choose this option for these simple reasons. The first one is that we were novices. We've never owned a property before, and though I've learned lots through reading and watching videos online and just doing my own research, I didn't think that it was something I was ready to undertake. Now, the second reason why we didn't go down that route is because we've got a young family and we wanted to make sure that we had a stable environment, a home where we could bring up our children and have that level of stability. Now, if we were buying buy-to-let properties and still renting, that would have meant that we might have to move here and there, and it wouldn't be the type of lifestyle that we'd like for our children to grow up in. So we definitely didn't want that. Now, this last one is very personal to me because I actually wanted to have some experience of owning a property, doing some renovations, seeing how much value I could actually add to that property before moving on to then doing it as a business, either part-time or full-time. So it's safe to say that we chose the option to buy our home first. Now, what are the advantages of this? And this is what I wanted to share with you today, to give you some experiences, some of the things that we've seen since buying this property and what we've learned from owning our own home in order to take things further. Now, here are some things to consider and what we've learned from our experience, and hopefully you can then measure this with your goals to see if it's something you need to consider. The first thing I would recommend is to make sure, wherever possible, you buy below market value. Now, I'm sure you've probably seen YouTube videos on this, read about this in the books, and I can confirm that this is something that's absolutely vital when looking to add value to your property. The simple fact is, if you were to buy a house, your home, for £100,000, and that was the market value for that property, it will then mean that there will be very little that you potentially be able to do in a short space of time to add value to that property. However, if you were to buy that property for say £10,000 less at £90,000, it means that that property would have already gained you 10% of equity. So you would basically already own a further 10% plus your 10% deposit of that property, which will take the total to around £20,000. Imagine if you then do some renovations like add a new kitchen, bathroom, change the boiler, heating system, whatever it is, you can quickly then start driving the price and the value of that property up. Now, time and patience is something that you also have to consider. It might not be something that will happen overnight. You might have to wait 1 year, 2 years or more before you'll be able to own as much of that property as possible. So when it's time for you to remortgage, you'll then be able to borrow the amount that you own of that property to then go on and buy your first buy to let. So now that you've bought your property below market value, you've then added value to that property by doing renovations and of course appreciation over the years. You've then lived in that property for say 1 or 2 years. So now your mortgage term of say 2 years has come to an end and it's time for you to remortgage. Because the value of your property has gone from 100,000 to say 120 or 130,000, plus the equity of that property which you own since the 2 years you've been paying off your mortgage, you can now say to a new lender or your current lender, I would like to borrow a certain amount from that property. Now, hopefully I'll be doing a video in the near future on what this process actually looks like when you pull out equity from a property that you own in order to invest in a buy-to-let. So stick around for that. Now you have enough money to potentially go forward and buy your first buy-to-let property. So now, after finally getting onto the property ladder, waiting for a couple of years for that property to appreciate in value, you then refinance it and pull out money. Now it's time for you to go forward and to actually find a property where you can invest that money into, so that you can now have 2 properties instead of 1. Now I know on paper this seems so straightforward and so easy, and realistically, once you know what you're doing, it truly is. The biggest obstacle I feel during this process of buying your home first before buying a buy-to-let is time. You have to have time on your hands. You have to be patient enough to wait for that property to increase in value for you to then move forward. But the upside is, regardless of whether or not you move forward with buying a buy-to-let, you'll actually own your own home and you actually have assets of your own. So it's definitely a win-win. So there you have it, guys. This is the strategy that we used in order to buy our home first, and now we're thinking about saving enough money to then move forward and buy our first buy-to-let. Now I'll be bringing you a future video soon about what we did and how we actually went through this process and how we are now currently looking forward to buying our first buy-to-let property. So stick around for that. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching and all your support. As I continue to grow my YouTube channel and to add content to it, I hope that this may be beneficial to you. Like I said before, I hope that you have a wonderful year and you'll be able to achieve all of your dreams and all your goals for 2021. As always, this is Kenroy saying, I'll see you when you see me. Take care.